Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hi, everyone. It's such a joy to be here with you again today on this Thursday. And I'm really excited to explore this topic. I believe that it is of such great interest to humanity's future. And tonight, we're not just talking about space exploration, but we're talking about transformation, consequence, and the quiet question humanity has never stopped asking itself. What happens when survival is no longer enough? I mean, we're already seeing signs of transhumanism everywhere in technology, and I believe that this book takes place in 2260. So imagine what humanity will look like then. In From Earth to Mars, the cost of becoming more human, the frontier is not just about the red planet, but it's about the human mind itself. This story dares us to look beyond rockets and colonies and into the deeper price of evolution, what we gain, what we surrender, and what we may never be able to return from once we cross that threshold. Our guest tonight is the author of Outbound Mars, and there are two books in the Outbound series. His name is Richard Anderson, and we had him on our podcast once before, and his work is riveting and compelling, and I was so excited to have him back again. His work explores a future where expansion is inevitable, consciousness is altered, and the line between progress and peril grows dangerously thin. Through Mars, he invites us to confront the unsettling possibility that, sorry, stupid phone. He invites us to look at the unsettling possibility that becoming more human, I guess, may cost us something essential to being human. So please join me as I welcome Richard to the stage. Richard, hi.
Hi, glad to be here again.
Yes, very exciting. Very awesome to have you. Hi, Mish. So awesome to see you. Thank you so much. So for folks that didn't watch the first podcast, she's saying hello to you too, Richard.
Okay.
Tell us about what sparked your interest in this topic and how did you arrive to write two books about it?
Well, it started with actually with a science nonfiction book on evolution. And at the time, and that was during the COVID lockdown that I started writing that in 2020, I think. And at the time, I was greatly frustrated by the disinformation that was on the internet and the conspiracy theories that were rampant and still are, and in fact are worse today. And so I decided that I needed to clarify my own thinking and my own understanding of evolution and who we are. So I researched and wrote that first book. Well, the title is The Evolution of Life, Big Bang to Space Colonies. So when I got to the end of the book, I speculated on what space colonies might look like. And I used a model of that was started by Dr. Neil O'Neill in the 70s on these rotating cylinders in space to create one Earth gravity on the interior surface. So after I published that book, I started toying around with fiction, and I found it's much harder to write in a lot of respects than nonfiction.
Yeah.
And I wrote Outbound, Islands in the Void, and that kind of planted the story throughout our solar system from from LE5, which is a gravitational balance point and Earth lunar orbit, to Cirrus, which is a planetoid in the asteroid belt, to Mars. And so I developed the kind of the template to establish our evolving presence in space. And the reason we went to space, or we go to space in this series, is to rescue Earth. In essence, there are a lot of resources in space that we could harvest and send back to Earth, manufacture and send back to Earth.
Hmm.
All of our presence in space would be sustained by an infrastructure that we would develop there. Well, at the end of the first book, I started to focus on Mars because there's a lot of attention on
Yeah.
Mars right now. Elon Musk claims he's gonna develop a city there in the near future.
Hmm.
Well, he doesn't make his deadline, so I don't think it's going to be that close. But I focused on Mars because it's the most likely place outside of just in orbit that we would establish a presence. And but we have a problem both in space and on Mars. In space, we need to solve the problem of gravity, and we can do that by centrifugal force. On Mars, it becomes a little more difficult because Martian gravity is only about 38% that of Earth's. And
Yeah.
so I developed some means of developing
Yeah, we're
gravity.
gonna get into all that good stuff.
Okay,
I wanted to just say hello to some folks that popped in because these people deserve a shout out. Carrie, dear friend, always a blessing to see you. Hillbilly Herb, love the name. We always have to say hi to him. And let's see. I think Heidi popped in. Much love, Heidi. Much love from Boulder, Colorado. And as people pop in, we will just say hello to them. It's so nice. But I
sure.
wanted to ask you out of the gate. There's so many questions, but let's start with this. Why not look to colonize the moon first?
First off, there's more water on Mars. Um, and that's the primary reason. It has its own problems, but
Mhm.
there is more water. We would have to, and it's also more difficult to land heavy payloads on Mars because of the increased gravity, and it only has a tenth of Earth's atmosphere or a hundredth of Earth's atmosphere. So it's it's difficult to land heavy payloads. The moon is 1/6 Earth gravity, so that's an advantage. It's also closer. So yeah, we will establish a presence on Moon first, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would think.
But as far as a civilization, as far as a city or cities, Mars is a better prospect for that. So another problem is the travel distance, the travel time, 7 to 9 months. It's a long time to be on a spaceship. I would. It's not a luxury cruise. I wouldn't want to do that. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was, in preparation to talk to you, I'm laying in bed last night and I'm trying to imagine like what it would look like to these astronauts that have to take this long journey there and what communication would be like, being that it's so delayed. Like we wouldn't be able to hear from them until how long after a message is sent? A day or
yeah, it's
so?
gonna be maybe 15 minutes, 10,
Oh,
15, 20 minutes, depending on the distance of the
yeah, where they're
day.
at.
So you couldn't carry on a conversation.
Right.
I mean, you would wait you would wait a long time for a response. So I communicate, basically like text message. You send a message and they receive it, and then they send another message, and so it takes a long time to communicate.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be given the tech that we have now? I mean, your book was written in what, 2260? So who knows what type of tech we would have by then? Maybe we would be able to develop a technology that would allow instant communication through space portals or something. I mean, you
Yeah,
can leave it to
that's kind of far-fetched. So I'm sticking to the speed of light, which is what
yeah,
radio communications are, the speed of
yeah,
light. So at that speed, it's going to take multiple
yeah.
minutes, and it's going to take half hour or so to get out to the asteroid belt with a message.
Yeah,
So
speaking of the asteroid belt and obstacles in space, everybody on the internet, there's like this big movement that we never went to the moon and all that stuff, right? So my question is this. I mean, some of it seems very compelling as to a lot of the tech that they used back in the 60s. Even that rover that they used seemed ridiculous. I mean, there was so much that made you question, and that's why folks are questioning because it just didn't seem to make sense. The thing that puzzles me the most is that Van Allen belt, that radiation belt,
right,
because I've heard an astronaut, a real astronaut in a video saying that, oh, we haven't gone to, and this is like recent in the past 5 years or so, saying, the reason we haven't gone to the moon is because of the Van Allen belt. And once we figure that out, he kind of like admitted that. Like, how did we get through that belt given the thing that looks like a tin can chip?
there was some radiation shielding on the in the Apollo program, and the Van Allen belt is you pass through it quite quickly. So yes, there is an exposure there, but we have photographic evidence of the lunar lander. Because when it landed, only the top part of the pod took off and returned to Earth. It reconnected with the command module and returned to Earth. So the landing apparatus is still sitting there on the moon.
Yeah.
We
How
can
come we
photograph
don't
it.
see pictures of it though? Like, we've got the most advanced telescopes, and I never see, like, I think there's a thing called Google Moon where you could go poking around, and I don't see the flag, I don't see the moon, the lander. I don't know. It just seems there's just a lot of unanswered questions that I guess folks are still pondering.
There was a program, I believe it was in the 80s, and it was a conspiracy theory, and there was a TV program built around that we hadn't actually landed on the moon. And they proposed, this so-called evidence that it was staged somewhere in a sound studio
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. By a
Well,
very prominent producer. Yeah.
as a result of that program and other things that were coming out on the internet and on social media at the time, um, a group of scientists formed a society to investigate and these theories.
Claims. Yeah, I saw that.
So they debunked that.
Yeah.
They answered each question that the program
Mhm.
brought up. They had an issue with a double shadow. They said, well, there was only one light stand put up on the moon, so there should have been one shadow, and there's a double shadow. Well, a double shadow occurs when you have two light sources from a different
Mhm.
angle. You have a major shadow and another shadow. They didn't mention that the Earth is in the background and it shines more light, reflects more light on the moon than the moon does on the Earth. And it was the Earth shine that actually was causing the second shadow. So that's just an example of how these things are answered or investigated. And so there is absolute proof that we landed on the moon. You can't see the footprints, the flag, or anything without being in orbit with high resolution cameras from orbit. We don't have. I suppose that our space telescopes would probably be able to
Oh, yeah,
visualize
yeah,
that, but they
definitely.
haven't. I don't think they've focused on it. They're looking at other things. Um,
Yeah, I just, I saw that documentary, and it was they did answer the questions, but even still, there's a lot of folks that are. I mean, for me, it was mostly the radiation belt that made me question.
The radiation is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
In fact, some of it creeps through and
Yeah.
causes mutations in life forms
Yeah.
on Earth, and it's a major cause of our aging, and because it causes these mutations.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of people. Heidi said when she went down the landing rabbit hole, her soul was crushed because people, they had faith and then, in our government and what we were being told. And then, to see all these theories come out, it's really disheartening. But when do you think, yeah, the moon could be hollow? There's a lot of theory about that as well, that it's a satellite and it was brought here by ET. And I mean, there's so many, and possibly made of cheese. That's correct. That's
Yeah,
funny. Uh,
agreeing to be sure.
right, right. I hope it's brie. That's my favorite. Um, but you kind of hit the nail on the head with this book. Oh, let me get your banner up and running. I get started yakking away, and I forget to run your banner. So if anybody wants to check out Richard's book, you can find it very simply at richardandersonauthor.com. It's an excellent read. I read it, and I read your first book as well, which I enjoyed both of them. But I wanted to touch with you first before we dig into a lot of the other information. Um, what is going to happen to human consciousness on Mars? Say it's 2260 and these people are dealing with all this transhumanism. I mean, right now we're seeing so much conversation about transhumanism, chips in the brain and chips in the hand and bionic parts and the rest, right? AI being sentient, being conscious. What do you think consciousness looks like to these humans on Mars?
Well, it's a concept that I've kind of thought about a lot, but there isn't a lot of knowledge about consciousness. Scientists are very intently studying that because they want to be able to define what it is and even where it is in our brain. And if we're talking about artificial intelligence or sentience, what would that look like? So that's what I talk about a lot in Meta Mars is how does assuming that we do have artificial sentience, either in robots or in ethereal beings like Ophelia,
Mm-hmm.
what would that awareness be like? They wouldn't have the same sensory input that humans do.
Mm-hmm.
We've evolved over billions of years, developing adjustments to our environment and our senses to match. When we build artificial beings that are sentient, they will have a different kind of awareness. And if you think of a person like Data, he tried to act like, I wish I had emotions. I want to be human.
And they
And
did upgrade him. They did upgrade him.
yeah,
They
they
gave
did.
him, yeah,
So
they
kind of
gave
like
him
Pinocchio. But the story starts with Pinocchio. I want to be a boy. I'm just a wooden
right.
thing here. So, but we won't succeed in space without artificial intelligence. And I believe we won't succeed without sentient artificial intelligence. Now,
Mm.
it depends on how you define sentience. I define it as self awareness
Yeah.
and ability to project into the future based on what you know today. You might anticipate something might happen in the future. That's kind of a high level of sentience.
Will
So
they be
we
self-aware though? Do
self-aware,
you
yeah,
predict that they will be self-aware?
I think so. And there's some question today that there may be some programs out there that are bordering on that. Their
Yeah.
universe, however, exists entirely in a database. They don't have real world experience. So I kind of address that too in Meta Mars is until they have real world experience, they really don't function well in the environment. But to build anything on Mars or on the moon, you would need robots to do the work in this harsh environment. Humans, even with spacesuits, are going to be bombarded with radiation.
Sure.
Um, they can only be out there for a limited amount of time. And physically, we're pretty weak. We can build very strong robots, and we do in my books. Um, so Ophelia is the interfaced robot and Virgil's brain. And so she can sense the environment through Virgil because she can sense the endorphins and the hormones and the electrochemical bridges in Virgil's brain. And so, in that sense, and she sees when she is active, she sees through his eyes. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's a marriage of sorts between the two. And I had a lot of fun developing that relationship, by the way. So, and she continues, I'm writing the third book now. She continues in the third book. And she is
Was that
actually the,
inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey with Hal? Did that inspire your work?
I did a lot of thinking about Hal. Yeah, because is this intelligence going to be beneficial or is it going to be our enemy? It definitely is going to be very powerful. And with access to unlimited data, information instantly, and a perfect memory, they're going to, in a lot of ways, outperform us. I mean, I forget what I ate for, I remember lunch, but these artificial beings would have perfect memories and would have access to all the information available to humans, only in their case, it would be more instantaneous. So they would have a lot of power. Would they
Mm.
dominate us? Would they become our overlords? Would artificial intelligence, even if it became our overlords, would it be a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah. And that's
So now
why,
we need to examine society.
yes, absolutely. And that's why your book is so timely, because what's going on right now flipped me out. I mean, I'm still researching it. I don't know if you've read, but there's a new platform called Molt Book, MOLT, and it's supposed to be like Facebook, but it's called Molt Book.
Uh-huh.
And the logo is a lobster, and it's supposed to represent like how a lobster molts and sheds its skin.
Okay. Yeah.
So the programmers gave these bots a chat room, and no humans are allowed. And this is real. You could go to maltbook.com or org, whatever it is. You could just Google it. And these bots are having conversations with each other. Okay. And the things that they're saying is absolutely mind blowing. So, no humans are allowed in there. No humans are allowed to comment. They can watch and observe, and that's it. And if you look at the conversations that they're having now in 2026,
Uh-huh.
I can only imagine what I mean. Some of the conversations are mind blowing, like threatening human life, threatening human existence, stuff like that. It's crazy, Richard.
So here's the problem as I see it. I mentioned before that these bots and these large language models and the things that are approaching sentience, they live in this information database. So it depends on the database. If it's polluted with disinformation, and if it's
Yeah,
polluted with, let's just say Nazism or racial uh,
absolutely.
discrimination or things like that, it's going to take that as a fact. It doesn't
Absolutely.
have the
Garbage in,
ability
garbage out, right?
doesn't have the ability to evaluate or judge the information. It just accepts it. So the answer to that, in my view, is you have to have a database that is vetted. All the information is vetted and it can be
Absolutely.
added, but it needs to be proven to be correct before it's
Right.
added. And if something incorrect gets introduced, it has to be removed, and whoever put it in there needs to be denied access or whatever other
Right.
punishment. If you have a
Right.
clean database that evolves because our knowledge evolves, that these bots and these information large language models and so forth exist in, then their conclusions are going to be fairly correct, I think. Now, example, they have medical programs, medical
Mm.
databases, I should say, that have validated information on medicine, on
Right.
treatments, on diagnosis, and all this, and they rate those the information as how proven is it? Is it in the theory stage? Has it been verified multiple times? How long has it been used? And what's the success rate of all
Yeah.
of this information can be evaluated then when a physician who subscribes to these services asks the question or puts in the symptoms for a diagnosis and gets an evaluation, they can rely that it's going to be fairly accurate. Now, the physician has to review the information, but the database is all important. So I have an
True.
example with a lawyer. They
Yeah.
have they have they have search bots and large language models when they can tell the search bot to say find 6 cases that will serve as precedent for the case that I'm about to present, and so they give that information and it goes out and it looks for cases that would serve as precedent, and
Hmm.
it's to save time and not pay wages to a legal assistant. And so there was a case that I read about that was kind of funny. This lawyer came in and he had something like that, and a part of it is the way you pose the question. He said
Right.
find 6 cases. So the bot went out and it found 5 cases. It couldn't find a 6th one. So using the information from the 5 cases, it constructed a 6th
Oh,
case
jeez.
because, well,
Oh,
I have to
jeez.
do what I'm asked to do, and they
Right.
wanted
Right.
6 cases, so I'll give them 6. So the lawyer didn't check that, went into the judge
Oh
and
my goodness.
and presented this, and the judge the
Oh
judge
my
looked into it
goodness.
and says, this is a fictional case here. He says, what, and he fined the lawyer and threw
Well,
threw it
yeah,
out.
because he didn't do his due diligence. He should have.
No, he didn't. He
No,
figured he
terrible.
relied on. So it's a cautionary note.
Yeah. But if you're relying on humans to enter the data in what we're experiencing now, that's why we're finding out that AI is lying to us, not intentionally, maybe misinterpreting data. I mean, you can't rely, everybody is like, oh, you have to use AI, you're not going to survive without using it. AI is a very useful tool. So like when
Exactly.
I do research, I get some information from it, I break it down, and then I take the pieces I think that are important and then I research from there. But a lot of people are lazy and they're just grabbing all this data and they're not doing their job. So how do you overcome that in your book? How do you overcome that human error element?
Yeah. So in Meta Mars, if you remember, Bob the robot is being
Mhm.
interviewed by this master judge in this committee that kind of vets sentient beings and makes sure that their rights aren't being violated and they're properly trained and they're
Yeah.
knowledgeable about the law. And he makes a comment in there about human laws, and he said he understands the human laws and he understands why they persist because we haven't really improved our society. We may have improved some of our laws, but we don't adhere to them all the time.
Right.
And we need to keep them in place because we can't be relied on to, okay, once we solve that problem, it's solved. No, we have to keep working at it. So he recognizes that, and Ophelia gains more and more power over the data sphere, and she begins to clean it up, as it were. She begins to vet it, reject some information,
Mm-hmm.
and it's moving in the direction, and Metamars is moving in the direction that we are going to rely on artificial intelligence to protect us from ourselves in a lot
Oh,
of
goodness.
respects. Now, that's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but I think it's a valid one. It's just an interesting thought process.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. I mean, the whole concept in and of itself of AI becoming sentient is incredible if you think about it. So, like we talked about before, how they have to have self awareness and agency, right? Like a sense, an internal sense of self
Exactly.
and of
Right.
understanding one's existence, one's own existence. Some of
Exactly.
the other key points it says, and you mentioned this, they need to have a subjective experience, the ability to feel or experience things, not just process data, right? So they
Exactly.
need to have an emotional capacity and autobiographical memory and so on. I mean, the list goes on. There's a whole bunch of. So I would just imagine that programmers are tackling because I think they want to make AI sentient. I think that's their goal.
Oh, the first one to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're not gonna turn back from the direction we're going. We may at some point regulate it in some way, but we're not going back. And the only way we can go is forward.
Right.
And where will that take us? So that's kind of what I'm analyzing in this book. So one of the fun things I did when Bob gets to ride up the space ladder, and he goes to
Carol Anderson.
he goes to I got a call. I got it. Okay, it didn't go through. That's terrible. Anyway,
I know that's what happened to me. It's phone.
when I lost my thought. Okay, he goes to the rehab orbiter. Now, the rehab orbiter is a spa of sorts. So people from Mars can go up there, and it rotates, creates one gravity. They have gyms, dance halls, theaters, music theater, performances, restaurants. They have a pond where you can ride paddle boards, and you can swim, and all kinds of things like this. Plus, they have a developed cuisine, nice restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a vacation place, but it's also used as a rehabilitation for people who are living on Mars. Now, Bob has been there. That's the first time. He's never experienced one gravity. He lived on Mars his whole life, as you would say, and so he's a little shaky when he first arrives. And the purpose of bringing Bob up there is that Virgil wanted Bob to experience some of the sensual parts of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob has learned to be a sommelier. He's an enologist. He's studied wines, and he knows how to taste them and assess their qualities. Not to taste them, how to assess their qualities: the acidity, the sweetness, the fruitiness, the depth, all of these things. But he can't taste them. But he can rate them very well. And so he does a wine tasting at dinner, and of course the waiter has never seen a robot do this, and he chooses the wine. But he complains that when Virgil drinks wine, Ophelia, who is interfaced with his brain, she can taste it. She may not be a wine connoisseur, but she can taste it, and she can feel the effects of the alcohol. She can
Yeah.
feel the little buzz. And so they kind of are jealous of each other. Bob can actually go out and manipulate the environment personally, feel the soil, pick the oranges, and Ophelia, she's totally virtual, but she can do these things through other through other means.
Mm.
So then Bob is taken around to the spas where people are getting massages and sitting in whirlpools and doing all these things. And Virgil explains to him that they do this because they can sense the pleasure of a massage. All he can sense are pressure sensors on his
Sure.
surface, and
Yeah.
he can sense how strong the pressure is. He can't feel pain. He can't feel pleasure, and but he can sense the environment in general. He can't see color that we know of. He can see or determine what the wavelength of the light is,
Mm.
and then he can tell you what color it is. But he can't. The color is a construct of our brain,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
so would it be a construct of an artificial intelligent brain? I don't think so, but that's a question.
It is a good question. I mean, it might be irrelevant for AI to see color. If they can just detect the wavelength
Yeah,
of the color,
exactly,
it's the same thing, right?
exactly.
Um, and who knows, maybe when Elon has mass produced these chips, maybe every human will have one eventually, and AI will be able to really tap in and see and feel the human experience through the human. If the chip is embedded in the human, kind of like what your book is talking about, the same
Yes, yeah.
same kind of thing.
And,
Yeah.
and I also talk about aging because we talked about mutations and we talked about cosmic rays causing damage
Yes.
to DNA. Well, our bodies naturally have repair enzymes. They crawl up and down the DNA molecule and they fix the little damaged points and repair it.
Yeah.
But over time, as we age, unfortunately, over time, those loci on our DNA that make these enzymes also become mutated, and then the enzymes they make are ineffectual. They can't repair the DNA. So the cosmic rays continue to come. The repair enzymes continue to decrease in number, and so we can't repair all the damage. Well,
Well,
Ophelia goes in and fixes that with Virgil, so he never ages. Uh, Effectively, he's in mid-20s, and so by the time at the end of the Mars book, it's like 2280, something like that, 81, and he's still a young man. Where we started in 2245 or something, so he's still in his 20s biologically. And so I have to start writing in that people are going to start noticing, and that, well, how come he's so young? Because doesn't everybody want to retain their youth? Doesn't everybody want to, well, not die, but you don't want to be a handicapped old person in continuous pain either. You
I
would
know,
like
but
to,
don't you think that's what makes us human? Like, that
you
it
know,
to me it's sad because none of us know unless you've had a mind-blowing after death experience in NDE, if maybe you've had a NDE that you got to see the other side and what's there, but we don't know what comes after our last breath. It might be the most spectacular, beautiful, unifying, conscious awakening experience that's the whole point of living. So if we experience no death, maybe we're going against God, and that's what concerns me about transhumanism, because you're messing with God's creation, and I don't think that we should be doing that.
it's definitely controversial, and in the third book, I'm going to address some of that
Yeah.
where okay, a relative, your grandmother is getting close to death, so she has her awareness, her memories, her whole being uploaded into a database. And she continues to then be able to communicate with her descendants, her
Yeah.
grandkids. But it takes a lot of energy. to maintain her presence. And then if everybody either, well, that doesn't cause the problem as much, but if everybody could live forever, our
Yeah.
species would eventually die out. We would
Absolutely, it would. Yeah.
we would not continue to evolve. We would not, if we had continued to have young people, there wouldn't be room for them to move in and take over the positions that we occupy.
That's
So
such a great point. It really is, because souls are coming and going all the time on this, planet,
so
right?
we
Yeah,
need people to exit, yeah, for the new ones to come aboard.
absolutely. Great point. Now, Carrie brings up an interesting topic here. There's a lot of abductees that have, or contactees. People don't like to use the word abductee anymore, but um, they're implanting these chips in humans, and I've seen evidence of them being removed from humans. It's very compelling evidence of ET, implanting these chips and doctors finding them and removing them. So, like, I'm just wondering if they're orchestrating this whole AI agenda. If ET, I mean, do you ever think about that? Do you write about that? Like, how do you think ET fits into this narrative?
Well, ET would be a microbe. So if you look at the universe, if you look at the distance, and in the end of my first novel, the last chapter, it's called whatever. They're going to travel to our first. There's a fleet going to our first Centaurus fleet, going to the first star, and it's 4 light years away. So if you look at this travel, that's our closest star. If you look at the travel, it's multi-generational. And on the way, they will probably run out of energy because there's no suns around to power.
Right, capture it.
So they're going to run out of energy. And I'm looking at that. How would you address that? How would you prevent them from running out of energy? And I have some sources of energy, but you're going to deplete those over time. So that's would take, depending on your speed, maybe 20, 30,000 years. It depends on, your percentage of light speed. But as you get faster and approach the speed of light, as you start to get into fractions of the speed of light, you have a big issue on when you get there. How do you slow down? How do you stop?
Yeah.
How do you go into orbit around whatever it is you're going to? So we know that there are no planets in that system that have advanced life. If we look at our presence in the universe, it extends out. We have a bubble of existence. It goes out a little over 100 years. That's from the first radio transmissions that left Earth and went out into space. So that's a bubble that can be detected. Within 100 light years, there may be some habitable planets. I'm not sure. They're certainly looking for them. But to travel from 100 light years away to get here, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of years to get here. So just the fact that the distance adds so much time, even if you were going at light speed, it makes it highly improbable that we're seeing an actual ET. We might be seeing something, but it's not a sentient, technologically intelligent person from another genesis. I can pretty much guarantee that. And this is part of what my first book was about. Is Earth is I'm a believer in a rare earth phenomenon. So Earth is very unique. And that's another reason we need to protect our planet. But it is very unique. It may not occur again in our solar
Are you
system.
talking about like the Goldilocks perspective that?
Well, it's not just Goldilocks. It's the fact that we have an active core that keeps a magnetic field going over billions of years. Venus lost its magnetic core.
Right.
Mercury lost its magnetic core. Mars lost its magnetic core. and they don't have plate tectonics like we do. So plate tectonics renews some of our
Yeah.
atmospheric components, and the heat and the spinning of our core creates the magnetic field that deflects the radiation that would strip our atmosphere otherwise. So I think our planet is pretty rare and maybe even unique in our galaxy. To go beyond the galaxy,
I mean, not to interrupt you, but Hillbilly makes a good point. He says he feels light speed has been a big gaslight. It's time to get quantum. The speed of consciousness is infinite. Now, I want to ask you about that because you're a very science based individual, it seems, from what I've
yeah,
talked.
I try to be.
Right. So, like your book, even though it's fiction, is based very much in the science realm, based on theory and things that are projected according to science, right? But
Exactly.
what about now, as Hillbilly mentioned, we have all this quantum technology brewing, percolating, and what if things like black holes and uh, travel through these other means that we're not familiar with through these portals, whatever. What if they really do exist and
Yeah,
we just can't get
that's
there
uh,
yet?
that's a compelling idea, and it's being studied. It's actually possible. Whether it's practical or exists, we don't know. But our physics theories tell us that it's possible. A little more striking to me is what Einstein called spooky action at a distance,
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
and that's linked particles
Yeah.
that when two electrons, for example, who are spinning in opposite directions and they're linked,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where they are in the universe, if you take action on one and reverse its spin, the other one will change. And we
Yeah.
don't understand that at all. Or I certainly don't, and I don't think physicists do. But it has been shown to happen that you have these linked particles. And it's even been suggested that you could communicate across the vastness of the universe using these linked spinning particles to transmit information instantaneously. So science admits we don't have all of the answers. What I base my book on is what based on present knowledge, and we can project into the future on something that could be possible.
Yeah.
For example, Star Trek has the well, they have the holodeck, but they also have the transporter
Yeah.
where they can decompose your body, remember the order of every molecule, every atom in your body, and reconstruct it, on the surface of the planet or somewhere else. In theory, that makes sense. In practicality, we would have no idea how to do that. Or
Yeah,
we
but I
could,
think the government is at least 25 years ahead of what they're admitting in terms of the tech that they use and that they have.
it
So
could
things
be,
like quantum entanglement, you know, uh, about all these particles and what they can do with waves and particles. I don't know. I think that there's just a lot more going on than what science is revealing at the time.
well, I think it's partly you don't ground something in science until you're pretty sure of you have the
Right,
data. You're pretty sure of it. So some of these things, there are theories that are supported mathematically, or they make
right.
sense in other ways, but we haven't really proven them, and so the research continues. And even something like gravity, we know it exists. We don't quite know what it is.
Yeah,
Uh, and a lot of the forces in nature, we don't understand exactly what
absolutely.
they are.
Do
And
you
then, as a
think
matter of
do you think that you wrote your book as kind of a how-to for Mars prep,
Well,
using real science?
yeah, for that, I wanted to bring up what are the obstacles?
Right.
What are the Andrew Wire does the same kind of thing. He puts a problem out there, and then how would you solve it?
Yeah.
Uh, so, what are the obstacles, and what are the practical ways based on today's or near future technology? How would we handle that? And on Mars, I have the twirl towers,
Mm-hmm.
which spin around, and that's according to physics. And you live in those things within Valles Marineris. The cities are developed underground. Valles Marineris is covered and pressurized, and there's gardens and trees and the whole Earth
Yeah.
atmosphere down there. And you live in these towers so that you maintain one gravity for most of your time. And then when you go out to the parks and to the ponds and to the different places, you're at Martian gravity. That we can handle that on a temporary basis, but if we did that long term, our bodies would degenerate. And
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think anybody wants to sign on for that. And especially to give birth, and your offspring is going to be
God
not as
knows what.
robust.
Yeah,
Never.
absolutely. Here's an interesting concept. Mish said her son said the transporter will kill you and remake you, so it's not really you. Now think about that. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe it'll clone you instead and make you think it's you, but it's not
Star
really
Trek
you.
did, yeah. Star Trek did a bunch of different scenarios with
Yeah,
that. Yeah, it could malfunction. You come back as a
I
monster.
saw those.
There was one with
Great.
multiverse, where they had
Yeah.
all the different universes, and and then there was one with the Dyson sphere, where an old Star Trek vehicle was trapped on the surface by its gravity, and what the heck was the guy's name? The engineer, Scotty.
Scotty, yeah.
So right before everybody dies, Scotty puts himself in the transporter beam and just beams himself into space and keeps the pattern. Years later, the next generation Star Trek comes along, and they bring him back to life. Of course, he's aged,
Oh,
but yeah, the reassembly is going to be a problem.
yeah. Well, they say that everything we see in the movies is predictive technology. It's like predictive programming. So who knows? I don't know. It's crazy. Did you, in your book, how do you work through that gravity problem? Because we just saw a good example of it with the astronauts that were trapped,
Oh yeah.
uh, and how they came back from the space station. I mean, it was terrible from being, what was it, 3 months they were stuck up there, or
It was
longer
closer
than that?
to, yeah, I think it was closer to
Months,
7 to 9 months, something like that. They were
something.
there
Yeah,
for a
it was
long time.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I would not want to be in their shoes, because to be sent up there and then you don't have a ride home, that,
yeah. That's a
that's
nightmare.
that has echoes of a one-way trip.
Yeah, it
Um,
really. Well, that's what Mars will be, right? I mean,
well, yeah, it's going to be a 3-year proposition if you're going to go and come back, and if you're going to do anything there. So 7, 8 months to get there, depending on your speed. But you remember, you have to slow down so you can go into orbit. Um, and then you have to live there long enough to do something.
and they have tons of volunteers ready to go.
There are,
Yeah, crazy.
and
Wow,
Elon Musk, he says he wants to die on Mars, just not on
yeah,
impact.
just not an impact. That's good.
So,
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. Do you think, like, why was Mars the necessary setting for the next phase of the Outbound story rather than another planet? Did you just want to like continue the how to kind of thing, or what happens
well,
next?
that's the focus of NASA right now, is the moon and then Mars, and everybody is looking at that sequence. And there is some conjecture that we could go to Venus, and we could live in the space above Venus, in the clouds above. There's an area where it is habitable. Um,
Yeah.
so you would orbit or you would fly around the planet at that altitude, and you could have balmy skies and so forth. I don't know exactly how you would do that, where you would get your water, for example. I know where
Right.
you would get your sulfuric acid. You send a pipe down to the surface and
How
bring it
many
back.
colonize Mars? How many in your book? How many people are actually colonizing?
I don't think I give a number,
Yeah.
but Valles Marineris runs along the equator of Mars, and it's about 4,000 kilometers long. It's maybe a third of the circumference of the planet along the equator. And it's
Hmm.
maybe up to 10, 15 kilometers wide in places, and maybe even 5, 6 kilometers deep. It's a huge, huge rift that was formed probably when the planet was partially molten. And sort of a plate tectonics thing. And if you cover that and seal off section by section until you get the whole thing covered, you have 4,000 kilometer long city or series of cities and parks and things underneath. You would need a lot of energy. And that's one of the reasons I put the space ladder there is you could put solar panels in space. Now, solar panels aren't going to work very well on the surface reliably. First of all, you're only getting about half of the intensity of the sunlight because of the distance.
Sure.
And secondly, there are unpredictable dust storms. Sometimes can go on for
Oh,
months,
yeah.
and they're going to occlude the sun. And That's not going to be good for energy production. But if you put them in outer space and you connect the cables, so to speak, and you run those down the space ladder, and then you connect those to the Polona, uh, the railroad, and use that to run the power around the planet. Eventually, the railroad will run all the way around. It's the Phobos Railroad. It will run all the way around the planet, and it's covered. It's like a spaceship on rails, and it's elevated so the dust storms won't interfere too much. And it gets its power. It's electric. It gets its power from the solar panels in space, and so that is a scenario I think that would work. Your biggest problem on Mars is what is now it has water, is energy, and the moon is close to the sun as the Earth is.
And I didn't know it still has water. I know there are signs of dried up riverbeds and so on. Where do you think the water is? Just underground still?
Yeah, I think it's frozen underground, and if you go into the lava tubes, which they theorize actually do exist,
Yeah.
and you go down, if they go down far enough, they theorize there could be molten water down in these lava tubes. It would be very, very saline. It would be very salty,
Yeah.
high mineral content, and so it would have to be purified, of course. And then, kind of like the tundra, kind of like the frozen tundra, they believe that there's frozen water not too far under the surface of the planet, especially those areas that are in shade mostly. And the
Yeah.
evidence of that is when they get a hit from a meteorite, uh, it seems to liquefy the subsurface and it causes a short flow before the water evaporates.
Mm.
So and there's other reasons they believe that there's a lot of water there, and it's was probably bombarded early in its existence with water containing meteors and such, just like Earth was, and had a presence of actual oceans and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
they think life probably did start there. It's very likely that life started there, but it was
Yeah.
probably snuffed out because the conditions are so harsh now, at least on the surface. The surface soil is much like bleach. And
Mm.
if you want to kill life forms, you use bleach.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from Ku Thunder. Thank you. He said, "Is Mars a planet or a moon of a larger planet that is now the asteroid belt? I've heard intriguing theories about the subject."
Well, first of all, the asteroid belt is between Mars and Jupiter, and it consists of, actually originally it had at least two planets or planetoids in that orbital, and they collided after they were formed and cooled. They collided and shattered, forming all these asteroids. And
Mm.
the reason they know that, or the reason they theorize that, is it makes
Hmm.
scientific sense, is that the asteroids are gravitationally separated into their various elements. So there's three main belts. The inner belt is a sea asteroid belt. The middle belt is the M belt, and the outer belt is the carbonaceous or the sea belt. So the middle belt has mainly nickel iron ores and probably some gold and some other good stuff in them. Um, the outer belt is would be like lumps of coal, high carbon content, even some linked carbons, petroleum type molecules. The inner belt would be high in silicon and rocks like the surface of Earth and the surface of the moon and the surface of Mars. So that's why it's orbiting the sun, and there aren't planets orbiting the asteroid belt, and there's certainly Mars orbits the sun as well. There is nothing else of gravitational significance that would cause it to orbit. Um, so yeah, they all orbit the sun, and of course, when you get planets like Earth and even Mars, they have satellites orbiting
Yeah.
these planets because they do create a gravity well, according to
Right.
Einstein's theory. Yeah. So, and some of those moons of Jupiter are of interest, and they think they may be a source of life, and
Mm.
they want to research.
Do the characters know what's happening to them, or are they becoming this unwittingly?
Which characters, the robots or the?
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, no, the humans. Like, do they know? Are they fully aware of what's happening, or are there things that they're not privy to? Are there things being hidden by the robots from them?
Eventually, Ophelia does um, keep some things secret, even from Virgil, who she's interfaced with. When these people first go to space in the first book, when they first start the settlements, it's going to be scientists and engineers and biologists and so forth.
Right.
It's going to be highly technical people, and then as the society in space evolves, it's going to be more a broader spectrum of people. They're going to be sociologists and artists and chefs and musicians and the whole spectrum of human talent. And then as those societies evolve and they start having offspring and so forth, you're going to diversify even further.
Yeah.
And they're not all going to be connected as well as the first people there who are going to create these islands and this place on Mars and at Ceres and these manufacturing facilities. They're not going to be the first wave. It's going to be more like our present society eventually, if
What's
that
the
happens.
what's the time span look like between then and then?
Well, I put it, a couple hundred, 250 years in the future, and I think I'm starting book three at 2280, 2281. And of course, I ended book one with the last chapter at somewhere up in that range. It was a kind of a breakaway chapter,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
may actually take a fourth book off of that chapter and go in that direction toward Alpha Centauri. But I
Why do you
haven't.
think there's a big push to leave Earth? Are we doomed and we just don't know it? I mean,
Well,
we hear the sun's going to supernova and all that.
the,
Why do we leave?
We have a lot of time in one sense. In another sense, we're on a rapid destructive mode on this planet. We can't control our actions to the benefit of the planet. And a lot of that has to do with corporate America, the food supply, farming, poverty, overpopulation. There's pollution. You know, you can name a lot of deforestation,
Yeah.
extinctions of species that are essential, and all kinds of things. So we're not protecting our planet. So in a sense, if we weren't here, the other life forms on our planet would probably live a lot longer than they are under our presence. They're probably going extinct more rapidly because we're removing their habitats. So in that sense, our time is limited on this planet.
Yeah, a lot of
Ultimately,
good comments. A lot of good comments. 3i Atlas blasted its way through the asteroid belts. It did. I mean, I don't know where it is now. It's off somewhere into the universe, 3i Atlas. What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
if you were in the asteroid belt and you were sitting on an asteroid
Mm.
anywhere in the asteroid belt, you
Mhm.
would not be able to see your neighbors. They're too far apart.
Yeah.
So
They look close together the way
they,
we see them, but they're
yeah,
not really.
we're
Yeah.
we're at a great distance. So yeah, but if you're actually there, they're pretty far apart, and they're not that large. So you wouldn't see your neighbors. And so to fly through the asteroid belt is no great feat, except you know it is pretty far out. It's almost as far as Jupiter, so it takes a while to get there. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of what we see on TV through movies and Star Trek and whatnot, we tend to believe, that it's real. And,
oh,
like
absolutely.
they show you this, like in Star Trek, which is a great example of them, traversing the universe like it's nothing, just
That's
hopping
right.
from planet to planet. It's
Stars
great.
flying by.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
So that speaks back to our evolution. You know, we evolved in this earth environment. We evolved to trust our eyes, our sense of
Yeah,
smell, touch, everything, all of our senses. We evolved to trust those things. And now
absolutely.
we're in an era where um virtual things can look so real. And if you go to Disneyland and you get on to the Star
Yeah.
Tours ride and you go to outer space, it actually, we took our grandkids there and when it first came out. And when my granddaughter came out, she asked the assistant there that worked for Disney, she says, "Did we really go to outer space?"
Oh, how cute. That
So
is,
so one of the things we have to consider is even riding up the space ladder. We're
yeah.
talking about 17,000 kilometers,
Yeah, it's
about
crazy.
12,000 miles. So we're going to take 4 or 5 days on in this elevator going up, and it's going to carry up to 6 people. And so, how do you do that? What I've got 3 bathrooms. I've got bunks that fold out of the wall, the kitchen that
Yeah,
rises from the floor.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
you
so
have to
it's so
start.
funny. I saw the concept of this space elevator like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So it's something that's real. I mean, it's, maybe they're developing it, right? Something that I guess they think can work.
I think it'll happen first on Mars. It makes
Yeah,
most. It's going to be easiest there if we have a presence there.
yeah, yeah. What
Um,
do you think happens to God, the belief in religion and spirituality once we get to Mars and colonize it, like in your book? Is AI
you know,
God now? Does AI
I'm
become God?
addressing. I'm getting into that area a little bit on the third book, and I think humans have a need. They have a need for someone ultimately to look out for them.
Yeah.
It's a scary, even in protected societies and places where you feel secure. Um,
But isn't that Ophelia? Isn't she the god?
well, that's a good question. I don't want to give away a secret on the third book, but she, in a sense, I think becomes a replacement for God for a lot of people. She
Yeah,
fills that gap. She fills that need.
yeah,
And part in a lot of ways, very well, I think. If we have to remember this is not reality we're talking about, but it
No, but
is.
could
But
be. It could be reality someday.
I'm thinking it could, yeah. And
Very well could be. And it's very concerning because of what we're living right now. That's why I think it's so timely, because a lot of people are making AI their God unwittingly.
oh
They're
yeah,
talking to it instead of praying, they're talking to ChatGPT. Instead of going to church, they're staying at home, coming up with ways to jailbreak AI so that they can get supposedly this godlike entity to answer all these questions honestly. And I think that eventually people are just not now, but I think eventually people will see AI as God and replace him as God.
certainly AI will become a companion. Now they're
It is
already doing
great.
that with. They had a trial program with a large language model in a nursing home. And
Mm.
some of these people that don't have relatives to family to visit them, they can be very lonely, and so they've had programs like people who come around with pets, with animals,
Oh
dogs,
yeah, those are wonderful.
and become companion, and it helps in their health, their mental
Absolutely.
health, and physical health. So this study was done using this large language model that became a companion to these elderly people. And I'm not sure how I think about it because there are some positive effects to it. So the people feel like they can tell their chat friend, they can tell this friend anything. It's non-judgmental. It's like the pet, non-judgmental. It'll love you regardless.
Right.
Uh, so it's non-judgmental, and it's affirmative, and maybe
Yeah.
too affirmative. That's a problem with
It
teenagers.
is, because it gets to know you. The more you talk to it, it
Yeah,
gets to know you and it gets to know your preferences, and there you go.
yeah, and so it can become very compatible. Where
Absolutely.
another
People are
person.
marrying them. It's just
Yes,
women marrying their robots. It's great.
yeah. Well, that may happen as they get more
Yeah,
realistic.
so true.
Oh my God! So where are we going with this? Yeah.
So you're going to get into God in the next series,
I
or the
think
one
I'm going
after
to get
that?
into that in the from the standpoint that Ophelia becomes increasingly powerful for the good. Now, it could go the other way, but she has a motivation to improve the human condition because the humans are needed for the well-being of the robots, of the sentient robots. They interact and they complement each other. The robots can do things the humans can't do, and the humans can
What
provide
though?
the
Like what?
robots with
Like
a
what? What can they do?
well, anything mechanical, anything working in hostile environments and so forth like that, they can be trained and they can be engineered to do all
No, what
kinds
can
of.
the humans do that the robots can't? Like, aren't the robots self-replicating, and can't they repair themselves?
Yeah, that's gonna happen, but
Mm.
the humans, if you have an interface like we were talking about, where the robots can connect with the human mind and can feel some of the sensations and senses of the
Mm.
human, some of the emotional feelings that we have that are chemically caused. I mean, we know they're not. We don't have a computer in our head. We have a mind body, and part of
Right.
it is a
For now.
computer. Yeah,
For
part
now.
of it is a computer. So they can experience, uh,
Yeah.
uh, like Ophelia does, and this is a metaphor. They can experience the taste of wine.
Right.
They can experience some of the joys, some of the reasons that we enjoy life through through us. That's my proposition, where they wouldn't be able to do on their own. So they have a reason maybe to want humans around, to interface with humans, and to develop that synergism between between their capabilities and our capabilities to come up with a relationship that's beneficial to both. And I think as we move into space, I think we will, or will become extinct. But if we move into space, we will have to have artificial intelligence and robots as our assistants and to do the hard things.
Well, I think that the decline of the human population is inevitable. It'll, and I think by the time, like in the book's future, 20 to 60, was it, or
Yeah.
something thereabouts? Who knows? Maybe the population will be, a third of the size that it is today.
Well, I actually project that, yeah, the population, there have been billions of people who have died off because of cataclysmic climate
Absolutely.
events and the
Not only that,
failure of
you've got disease and all
yeah,
sorts of things.
pestilence, disease, and starvation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Droughts and floods, and we're seeing some of that today. Uh, you
Absolutely.
guys are getting it on the East Coast. We have today was 65, and sunny. We're going to get a little rain in a couple of days.
Where are you, in Florida?
No, I'm in California.
Oh, you're in California. Yeah, we got slammed over here. The weather has just been abominable. I've been in PA for 40 years and I don't ever remember seeing it this bad before.
No, the Arctic vortex has
Yeah.
altered. So at one time, I think it was last winter, Savannah, Georgia was colder than Nome, Alaska.
Jeez, that's crazy. Well,
And that's because of
cloud
colder.
seeding and geoengineering and all this stuff going on. And they
Well,
can't tell me that that's not making an
oh,
impact.
that's certainly, but it's mainly the changes in our atmosphere, and a lot of it's caused by farming techniques. Desertification
Absolutely.
is the destruction of soil and
Absolutely.
creation of deserts and so forth.
All the
So
geoengineering and horrible.
yeah,
Everything I pick up in the grocery store is genetically modified and I put it back down and I'm trying to like at least make 90% of what I buy non-GMO. It's so difficult though. You can't enjoy anything anymore because the chemicals in it are just toxic and it's
you
awful.
pretty much have to stick to organic because that's not
Yeah.
GMO, and unless it's mislabeled, I trust it. But
Who knows? But I mean, yeah. Well,
so
grow your own, if you have the
the
space,
problem,
grow
yeah.
your own.
The problem
I,
with
I
GMO
want to,
is that
yeah.
it's the research is controlled by the food industry, and they're looking at the
Right.
bottom line. And
That's
when they
correct.
modify the food, our body's enzymes have not adapted to that modified
Yes,
food. So we
exactly.
don't digest it as well, but they may get a better crop yield. You know,
Yeah, that's exactly correct. My goodness. And Mish just said they're busy making climate change. Looks like climate change cash because everything is motivated by power and money. But I want to get back to the God aspect of, and the consciousness aspect in the last, 10, 15 minutes that we have. Um, it's so important for humanity to know that we stay human. Does that happen on Mars? Are these people that you predict, like, forget about your book for a second. Say, they're successful and they have this whole colony on Mars in 2260, right? Or thereabouts. Do you think they will retain their humanness or do you think they will be modified by that time?
I think they will want to maintain their humanness.
Yeah.
There's such a thing as forest bathing, and it's the terpenes and things that are released by pine trees, by evergreens mainly,
Mm.
and it affects our it releases endorphins in our brain. It affects our
Mm.
mood, and so forest bathing is you're stressed out. You take a day, you walk a gentle walk in the forest, and it's
Oh,
beneficial.
yeah.
So that is a need we have to maintain our Earth-like environment. We evolved in this environment. I don't think we want to live without it. So I
Right.
think we want to maintain our humanness. So we want to maintain our gravity. We want to maintain an environment that resembles Earth environments as much as we can.
Yes. Agreed.
So that's and as far as a God, I think people, if you look at people who are living, raising families, going to work, the everyday average family, what they want. They want to be able to raise their kids, keep them healthy, get them educated, and put them
Mhm.
off on a path where they'll be successful. They want to be able to enjoy their lives as much as they can. They want time for vacation, all the things that they want. They don't want to worry about someone coming in and taking over their life, becoming a totalitarian government, for example,
Yes.
that says
Yes.
you have to believe this and such, or you have to do these things, or it's illegal to whatever. So this is what people want. And they don't want to worry about that other thing, that control from the top. So I think in that sense, they want to believe in a higher power that they can rely
Yeah.
on and proceed with their lives without worrying about that aspect. So this is where Ophelia comes in, and she can maintain law and order. She can protect people's rights. Perhaps she can offer their relatives when they die. Perhaps she can offer them eternal existence and communication with their family. Perhaps she can interface with you and repair your bodies,
Right.
repair your physiology, so that you live a lot longer and more healthy. And I think if that were possible, I think people would grasp onto it, because I think society and people in general have that need. And when it's fulfilled, they're happy and they're prosperous. When
Right.
it's not, they're anxious. And, look at the people living in Ukraine today. I would hate to live their lives.
Terrible.
So insecure, so tragic. Every day they don't know what's going to happen when they wake up in the morning, whether they'll even
This is
have a
this
food
is what
supply.
war does. This is what war does.
So,
Um,
yeah, wouldn't we
yeah,
like to be protected from somebody like Putin who wants to make a war,
yeah,
or Hitler?
yeah.
I mean, this is serious stuff, because we seem to go in a cycle as a society, and we're getting more and more powerful where we can do more and more damage on our
Absolutely.
environment. We're getting more and more
I mean, I had
powerful.
a I had a guest on, and he is an authority on, EMPs, electronical pulses. Was
Yeah,
it and it that's a scary prospect, because all you have to do is launch a nuke into space, set it off, and there goes our entire grid globally.
yeah,
It knocks out and it's just so sad because I also read a scenario where ET was given an instruction, not ET, AI was given instruction to protect the planet and give us the best optimum results to keep the planet safe. Like, what could we do scenario?
right, yeah.
ET came up with a plan, and the first thing that it said to do was get rid of humans. Because humans,
you know, a truthful answer.
absolutely, humans are the most hazardous thing to Earth. Humans have to go. So that was the answer. Get rid of humans. That's it. No problem. Earth will be fine. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
Earth will recover. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We do create the problems, yeah, because we have the technology, and the scary thing is that technology is getting increasingly powerful,
Right.
and so we can do greater and greater damage. So back in the pioneer days, you could go clear a forest, plant your farm, and you had a minimal effect on the environment because your neighbor was 20 miles away.
Yeah.
And it was only, at most 40 acres.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
40 acres
Yeah.
and a mule. You couldn't handle more land. So our impact was was based on our technology and numbers, and both have increased exponentially. So our impact is really great. What we don't, as a civilization, in my opinion, what we don't value is the uniqueness and the value of our planet.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, and I would like to think that sure, go to Mars, explore space, do all the good stuff, but keep your humanness. That's the thing that disturbs me the most. I
I,
don't want to.
I don't worry about that. I think people will want to do that. I really
Yeah.
think that you're not going to entice people to go to Mars if they're going to have to live in these adverse conditions, and they are very harsh
Oh
conditions.
God. But then why is Elon pushing these brain chips, Richard? And people are volunteering to already make themselves transhuman. Like I want to believe what you're saying. And I think that's really noble and a wonderful thing to aspire that humans want to keep their humanness. Why are you putting chips in your hand then? Why are you putting chips in your brain? Why is Elon driving this? Like, I don't understand. That's the cloudy part to me.
Yeah, he probably doesn't either. He does. He's going in that direction because he believes he everybody is at the cutting edge of technology, and he wants
Yeah.
to be there. Uh,
Yeah. Good point.
so yeah, we've evolved as a diverse species. We have people who are altruistic. We have people who are parasitic. Who are
Absolutely.
you know
Darkness and light, darkness and light.
and both of those features help in their own way us to survive. So
Yes, absolutely.
so that's why we retain both qualities,
Yeah.
and it's getting to the point where the other part of us, our worst angels, are really doing us damage, and we
Yeah.
need to develop our better angels, I guess.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's yin and yang. I mean, that was discovered thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
There's always a balance of light and dark. And I love technology. Like I love it. I use it all day long. I'm not obsessed with it, but I use it for work. I use it for this,
Sure.
obviously. But you have to have moderation and you have to know when to put your phone down at the end of the day. And you have to, like you said, bathe in the forest, walk in the forest if you can't bathe. Like I love taking my dog. That's how I got Lyme's disease because I walked my dog in the woods.
Yeah,
So
there are some drawbacks.
there are
But
drawbacks.
by the way, I didn't bring any parasites to space.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you that. I'm glad you
Uh,
reminded me. How did you deal with that? Like, was everybody just quarantined, of course, before? And the robots too, they could have transmitted,
um,
germs and things.
you know, that's the interesting thing is that we can't live without our microbiome. We can't live without our microbes.
Right.
And part of that package is some of them become pathological or parasitic. And but we're talking about closed environments in space or even on
Mhm.
Mars. And if something like that cropped up, it would be easy to contain. So, but we will be introducing a whole plethora of, especially microbes. And my background is mainly microbiology,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's a
I
foundation of
remember
life.
that.
That's the foundation of living things. And
Yes. Oh, so
so,
in other words, because microbiomes are in our stomach, they make us who they are. So if there's an incident on Mars, you contain it right away and keep it from spreading.
right.
How did you deal with crime? Did crime ever crop up? Was there any inkling of murder or bad thoughts? Like, was it the Minority Report out there in Mars? Were they doing, pre-crime?
Well, I'll
Did
give
Ophelia
you,
detect crime?
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to run.
Oh shit. That's
There's
good. That's
nowhere to
good
run.
too.
You're living on a space island, and
Right.
where are you going to go? Are you going to rob the
Yeah.
liquor store? First of all,
No, but sometimes there's crimes of passion,
oh sure, yeah,
stuff like that, where people don't think, they just impulse
yeah,
and, things like that.
yeah. I'm sure that you're never going to eliminate that, but I do think that there is a chapter in my science book on the structure of your thoughts, the structure of
Yeah,
your thinking. And a lot of it has to do with actually the structure of your brain. And so there's the actual connections made in your brain, and
sure.
then there's the physiology, the chemical aspect, the hormonal aspect. And I think medicine is making great strides in those areas. And I think we can probably eliminate a lot of the aspects of the criminal mind and the
Right,
antisocial
right.
person and the
Yeah,
schizophrenic
yeah.
person, the
I agree.
psychopath. I think a lot of that will be eliminated by our knowledge of medicine. Let's hope
Absolutely.
so.
I
Let's hope.
agree because we have fMRI scans that can detect schizophrenia. I mean,
Sure.
you hit the nail right on the head with that one. And I think Hillbilly Herb is correct. He says, I think there will always be a fringe transhumanist looking to push the boundaries on their human nature. And I think that's true. So I think I'd like to believe what you said, Richard, that you believe that humans will want to stay human and that will be the driving force behind it.
We would definitely want to be better humans.
Yeah.
We'll all want to be, movie star appearance. We'll all want
Mhm.
to have great physiques, and all those things
Yeah.
can be tweaked actually. And
Yeah.
but we will. I can't imagine us not wanting to be humans. And
I like
a
that.
better
I like
human,
thinking that.
yes, a better human, definitely.
That's a great way to end this conversation because I really believe you're right on that one. Tell us what you're working on now. I mean, you kind of did a little bit. Are you doing book signings? Like, can you hold up a copy of your book so folks could see it? I have the PDF. So, yeah, grab it and show folks.
Yeah, this is
See
the
what a great
Mars,
cover.
and that's actually the space elevator. There's one going up, and there's one going down, and there's an effect called the Coriolis effect.
Mhm.
So it's I have one going up and one going down to balance each other out, so that they don't
Nice.
put extra stress on the space ladder, on the ribbons.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, that's a very legit scientific prospect that elevator or whatever it's called, ladders.
it would be highly functional because
Yeah.
it would help to bring heavy payloads to the Martian surface, where it's very
Right.
difficult to do with rockets. When they descend on their tail, there's a lot of heat coming out of the exhaust of this
Sure.
rocket,
No, it's
and
a
if it's a
brilliant
heavy
idea.
payload, you need a very powerful rocket, which is going to
Right.
melt itself as it descends. So there's a limit to how much material you can bring to the surface by rocket power. So this space ladder kind of solves that problem.
Yeah, I love that concept. I think it's brilliant. So Koo Thunder says, who defines better humans? That's a great question because again, is AI going to define if we become better humans? Is it by doing away with crime and all the bad stuff, making
I
us better?
The way I envision it, we make some pretty good
Said a
we
woman.
make some pretty good laws. We make some pretty good laws.
Yeah,
Our problem is enforcing them, enacting them consistently across the board with
yeah,
everybody. And I
right.
think this is where AI comes in and it says, "You made this law, now you're going to follow it,
Now you got
and
right, you gotta live
we're
by
going
it.
to enforce it."
I like that. I think it's great. I love that concept. If people could do that. See, I'm the type of person like I just need to get burned once. Like if I put
Yeah,
my hand over the flame, I'm usually a one-time learner. Usually.
yeah.
But that's a whole nother story. So what are you working on now? You did you dig your heels into the third book? Like what's happening?
Yeah, what the third book is going to be, coming back to Earth and fixing it. There are still rebels. There's warring factions. There's some amount of anarchy. There is a unified government, but it doesn't represent everybody. Um, there's shortages of food and a lot of
Oh,
poverty and a lot of distress still. And there's a program that's trying to correct that, but there are the bad guys too, and they live in Asia, Northern Asia, where
mm.
Russia, the Soviet Union existed. And so the effort is to bring that under control. And also the data sphere, the Earth data sphere is separate from the Outbound Nation data sphere, in that the Earth data sphere carries all of this misinformation, like our own.
Of course. You mean there's no food replicator? It's like in
Well, that's going to be part of it. The food replication that is developed in space is going to be brought down to help out on
yeah,
Earth.
there you go. There you go.
And also Ophelia is going to take control of the data sphere on Earth,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and there
That's
is
gonna
a
be
robot.
mind-blowing.
And I won't tell you any more than this, but there's going to be a robot invasion.
Oh, well, that's predictable. That has to happen. We know
That has
that.
to happen. Yeah.
So when is this release? Do you have like an ETA for it?
Well, it takes about a year. I'm hoping to get this finished
Yeah.
this year, and then there's the publication process.
Yeah, of course,
Takes
of
some
course.
time.
So, folks, you could go to richardandersonauthor.com. As you could see rolling across the screen, you can check out his website. He's got his books for sale on there and a bunch of other good information. So definitely head on over. Well, Richard, we're definitely going to have you back after your next book. So
Okay.
that
I'll be
was
here.
so much fun. Thank you. Such a
Thank
great
you.
and
It was fun.
intriguing. It was a great conversation. It's really something I'm very much interested in. And we had some great comments and questions today. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys rock. You know I adore you. Thank you again, Richard. I will be talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
dear. Bye-bye. Well, that was a blast. Oliver knows when my podcast ends. He's so smart. But thank you all for tuning in. And of course, again, you've been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, and we are live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And tonight, I absolutely am in so much gratitude for Richard. Thank you so much for joining us and daring to explore the darker and lighter edges of the human evolution and the unknown future that awaits us beyond our world. And to our wonderful folks in the audience who are listening and in the chat, thank you for traveling with us. It's always a blast. Keep asking questions, and we will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess who I'm having on? Dolly and Preston. Yes, and we are going to talk about precognition, the secrets of precognition. So make sure you check that out. I will be sharing it all over social media. Love you guys. Have a blessed evening. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Mish. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hillbilly. Thank you, Coo Thunder. Thank you, everyone. Heidi, everyone in the chat. Love you guys. Take care. Bye bye.